Good evening to you, televiewers. Welcome to the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television, where we're broadcasting live from Douala, economic capital of Cameroon. In the headlines, the father of the 4-month-old baby killed in Moyoka, Fako division of the southwest region of the country, remains adamant that his child was killed by elements of the National Defense and Security Forces on the 20th of May. That was during celebration marking the National Unity Day. Meantime, the Minister of Communication says the military is innocent and that the act was perpetrated by Amazonian fighters who were hunting the father of the child who abandoned the struggle, that is restoration of the statehood. Our reporter visited the parents and compiled the reports that you'll be following in this edition of the newscast. Plus, acts of barbarism, destructions of homes, and equally killings continue in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon, despite the peace talk of Prime Minister Joseph John Gute recently. More in this edition of the newscast. Good evening to you once more and welcome to the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television. I am Innocent Aze. We begin with news in Moyoka in the Fako division of the southwest region of Cameroon, where parents of the 4-month-old baby that was killed on May 20th during the celebration marking the National Unity Day maintain that their child was killed by defense and elements of the National Defense and Security Forces. Meantime, the Minister of Communication has said that the military is innocent and that the act was committed by separatist fighters who were hunting the father of the child who abandoned the struggle. The father of the child says he has never had anything to do with separatist fighters, but working with the Cameroon Development Corporation. The parents were visited by a reporter, Derry Jotto, who compiled the following report.
When they talk every day, so if you want to be fine.
The parents of late 4-month-old Niba Matambu, who was killed last May 20, 2019 in Matanga 1, Moyoka subdivision, Southwest region.
I know say na army man shoot my pikin. You can't shoot me pikin on top of all my room.
It took Equinox Television some time for them to be brought here to their house. They told this reporter that they are now hiding in the bushes.
Why not there for inside bush? The fear say they can't kill me.
And Madam Agbo Emilia, mother to the deceased, came in, went straight into the room and brought out the belongings of her late daughter. Many around here say she is not the same again from when her 4-month-old child was killed.
Now help me. What's up picking the arrange picking the clothes. Now I bought the right beside me.
She will later explain what she saw that Monday, May 20, 2019.
I don't come out, I don't wash a key for afternoon. I'm sleeping for part of very well. This door be there down, then the window be there open. So as I say, well, I go backside, I go cook. Only as I cook, I want those come out and come for house. At the end, I say, they say, I'm okay, they come. Say, I'm they come. So when they are confused, I won't say no cup water for my hands. When they saw they don't already reach rifle for door here. Only as if I calculate, say, if I want say I want to take that picking, they see shoot me and the picking. So now when I run, I go, I leave the picking. I don't say not small picking. They don't do it, not true. Now where I go. Only as the gun we don't the thing if you don't cool. Only for me to come back, say I can't collect the picking. Now where I can't see my bad body. The picking is sleeping so. Cover my belly for them. I saw the ever sleeping cover my belly. And they shoot it for a back head, chakara, all this place.
And this is the kitchen, just few meters from the main building. Mr. Foni Zefania Niba said he is a CDC worker and had just moved in with his family from Moko.
Me too, the travel to me. I can't become a CDC worker. They never pay me. Say for how many for how long I don't be. They never pay me. But the stress I don't pass through. Only for say my car bring show grandpa. I make 4 days. My father the killer. The kind truck, military truck will enter for them very Morocco, so the
parents will later move to the grave of their daughter.
And the graveyard for the picking this. As I only grab my hand, and talk to. If you will kill the innocent, you will never make for the well so for 5 months.
Written on these placards.
And now on to something else. Some inhabitants of Babungo, Ngogetunja division of the northwest region of Cameroon are yet to come back to their homes. They are now homeless after their houses were burned down yesterday. This was as a result of a 2-hour gun battle between restoration forces and the military, precisely at Tankongbele. Many fled for their lives. 4 homes were ravaged with flames. A similar case in Esu, a locality that's in Fongom subdivision, Menchum division of the northwest region of Cameroon. Still, houses, shops, and other properties were set ablaze. At least 9 persons were killed during a prolonged gun battle between government forces and separatist fighters. That was on May 23rd, 2019. And calm has returned at my 90 Bamendo, northwest region, after 1 person was shot dead in a fresh wave of violence that has hit that part of the Anglophone Cameroon. A video that has gone viral on social media shows the body of a 35-year-old man, Zinga Dennis, with head shattered from gunshots, lying on the roads at the my 90 neighborhood. Sources say the man, a builder by profession, was heading to his job site Thursday morning when soldiers arrived the neighborhood and opened fire, shooting indiscriminately, killing the man. 3 motorbikes were set ablaze. Residents were compelled to flee, while a narrator in the video says 2 persons escaped into bushes with bullet wounds and are yet to be traced. Inhabitants resurfaced after the military men had driven off. We now tell you about civic service workers in the Manjek village, that is in Eseka, in the Nyongankele division of the Central region of Cameroon, who have gone on strike due to the non-fulfillment of promises made by the authorities as far as the payment of their salaries is concerned, and the non-provision of farm equipment for them to go along with their activities. Immaculate Fogwe has more.
Written on these placards are revantifications made by civic service workers of Manjak village in Ezeka in the central region of Cameroon, where 10 hectares of land has been given to them for agricultural use. Those working on the site say they have been abandoned and are calling on the authorities concerned to respect the promises made at the beginning of their training. They are equally decrying the absence of agricultural tools that can enable them carry along their duty. They say they are not satisfied with the explanations made by the authorities concerning their predicament. We asked the authorities why they abandoned us, and they told us to manage as we could and that they have done their best. I equally complained on the type of seedlings sent to us, that they are almost decomposing and won't produce better yields if planted. The chief of center has been away for some time now. Even the person who is in charge of distributing seedlings has been away for some time. They promised to tackle our problem after 6 months, but after 2 months, we can't find them anymore. The authorities concerned say they have initiated an emergency meeting that will take place in the days ahead. They say the promises they made to these civic workers will be fulfilled in no distant time, and that they were delayed from respecting their promises due to a recent theft that was carried out and some of their equipment taken away by thieves, causing the suspension of work on the site as they await for the purchase of new equipment.
We stay in the central region of Cameroon. This time around, we're talking about inhabitants of Ngambe, the Stika subdivision of the central region, who are requesting that government should construct a befitting bridge over the river Mbam. The bridge, which is used by the road users, has been described as a death trap. Smanjikan Gabriel.
Movement of people from Gambetika subdivision into that of Bankim and Magba is a veritable nightmare for the road users. Apart from the roads which many have described as footpaths, during the rainy season, movement on this stretch of road is very difficult due to its slippery nature. With the roads already being a major hindrance for movement, the inhabitants say they are suffering.
We suffer. Anytime where rain season come,
we are really suffering, particularly during the rainy season. People fall into the river.
Too much inside the water. People from Bankim, they come out, go for this side from Gambia, they go walk for that side. And from there, top they come out to go back to Bankim.
This is the bridge over River Mbam that links Ngambetika subdivision to Bankim and Magba. The bridge is a seasonal one, as during the dry season it's manageable, but in the rainy season the inhabitants are forced to use canoe because of the increase in water level.
We do suffer for ya, for go from Bankim, for go from Ngambetika.
To leave from Gambetika to Bankim is hell. Let the government help us.
We suffer plenty. We want say government come help we. Make government make say Bankim Gambetika join. We get that bridge we feel cross. We reach for Yaoundé. I feel be so we suffer.
The nature of the bridge has made it very difficult for even raw food to be moved from one end of the bridge to the other.
And here in the Littoral region, custom officials in Douala have, in an operation, seized 140 plastic packaging bags of non-biodegradable plastic papers at Boskam here in Douala. Immediately after the seizure yesterday, a verbal statement was drawn up and the competent services of the Ministry of the Environment were alerted for the practical modalities of delivery of the consignment for destruction. Investigations are continuing for more facts on the offense. The custom officials say they were informed minutes after the arrival of the contraband plastic papers. And now inhabitants of Lo, Manjo, Penja, and equally Mbanga, that's all in the Mungo division of the Littoral region of Cameroon, have since 6 a.m. today been without potable water. The precious liquid is expected to be reinstated before 6:30 p.m. The perturbation, according to authorities of the Cameroon Water Utilities Corporation, Camwater, for the Littoral in a release is to permit rehabilitation works on the long-distance pipes that supply water to the concerned localities. Some areas in the Mungo division have been suffering from water scarcity, and hope is nursed today's work would solve the problem. And Camwater regional delegate has extended excuses before the task. We now talk about high illegal forest exploitation and non-developmental projects in Mbime village in Dizange subdivision of the Senegal Maritime Division, where the inhabitants say they are irritated about these lapses. The high deforestation raised the inhabitants say has made life so cumbersome for them. Smanju Kangebe reports once more.
Of Mbindi Forest, while flames fumes out just around the area, charcoal on the ground, and also several trees that have been cut down. It is a hole that has been dug to enable the illegal production of charcoal. These illegal activities have been ongoing in the forest for several years, to the disappointment of the population who have bet their eyes to see their forests disappear. You can see for yourself that the forest is almost finished. There is no wood again. Our children won't even know if a forest existed here. For instance, we call this simo leaf. When our grandmother put them in fire, it burns for a long time. Even wood to construct homes is finished.
Tu veux faire maintenant construire ta maison. Tu ne vois pas le bois qu'il faut exploiter pour la maison.
Before the charcoal makers, it was the forest exploiters who for the past years have cut down almost every tree standing. Amongst the trees still standing, a charcoal specialist says they choose those trees that have been protected by the laws.
Oui, il y a eu d'abord les grands exploitants forestiers qui étaient ici.
We had some forest exploiters who cut down every tree, those that are rare. Now the charcoal makers are here. They have destroyed everything.
Vous voyez la forêt est vide, il n'y a plus rien.
These bags in the forest filled with charcoal is an indication of the success the activity is witnessing. 2 times in a week, heavy-duty vehicles are spotted in the forest to ferry out the charcoal that a bag costs 5,000 francs CFA.
Ils sortent avec ça dans les camions.
They take them out via our little roads, which they end up destroying and never come back to repair.
Vous arrivez parfois, ils ne peuvent pas réparer les ponts, mais eux ils gâtent.
For now, nothing has been done by the administrative authorities of the Sanaga Maritime Division or even the traditional rulers who say the exploiters have permission to carry out their activities.
Mais nous savons que
the state is aware of it. Where else can we go and cry?
Parce que puisque vous croyez que ils viennent comme ça que l'État ne connaît pas qu'eux ils exploitent.
It is at this dilapidated structure that the charcoal makers spend their night almost in an empty air. The villagers say they consume hard drugs which is not safe for their families and them to live around.
Ils crient même chaque jour. Quand ils boivent, ils prennent aussi le tramol, le chanvre indien, ils commencent les bagarres partout.
As the administration sits quiet, so too the forest is gradually disappearing.
And ways to contribute to improve the climate finance to support agriculture in Cameroon through nationally determined contributions processes have come under discussion in a 2-day national stakeholders workshop in Douala. It falls under this context because agriculture is central to any debate on climate change, given the enormous responsibility placed on the sector to produce 60% more food by 2050, despite changing climatic uncertainties. Options for promoting co-investments from the private sector to support climate-smart agriculture in particular and agriculture in general in Cameroon, identification of key priority action points to promote climate action in the country, and establishment of criteria for selecting representatives from the country to present views at the regional meeting on climate finance for agriculture have been some of the expected results of the national workshop. And now for more on this, listen to Professor Kalame Fobisi. He is Director of FOCAPS.
Present a study that has been conducted to explore the opportunities to mobilize climate finance within the context of the agricultural sector and to see how the country can rather benefit from climate change. You know, Cameroon has been engaged in this process for many years. And most often we think that we can only focus on the negative aspects of climate change. But here we have a situation where we can use it as an opportunity to promote climate resilient and low carbon development that aligns with the development vision of the country, Cameroon Emergent 2035. We are here as technicians to support the government, to engage with investors, to bring out the technical feasibility aspects, to mobilize resources. And we expect that by the end of this 2-day workshop, we should be able to come out with very clear ideas, recommendations, and next steps to support this process in Cameroon.
And some experts at the workshop, like those of the Red Plus, are using this opportunity to contribute their experience to support the initiative. Now take a listen to Momo Ashil. He is an expert of the Red Plus.
Here just to see how we can work together to raise climate fund to support agriculture that are climate friendly, or what we also call climate smart agriculture. So what we did here was like to take the experience that we have been having in terms of Red Plus, which is reducing emission from deforestation and degradation, how we can take this experience and use this experience to support this initiative. Because in terms of Red Plus, we have been mobilizing funding to support activity that can go towards reducing deforestation and forest degradation. And one of the driver of deforestation in Cameroon, one of the main driver of deforestation in Cameroon is agriculture. So what is being done in Red Plus is something which is really compatible with what we are seeking actually. So the experience of Red Plus, which is also, like you can say, a component of the Cameroon CDN, is something that we came here to share with the participants to see how we can take also this experience to raise funding in terms of supporting climate smart agriculture.
And regarding the next steps of the project that will see a continent-wide meeting hold with the expectation of Cameroon to be selected to be involved in the multi-country project. More on this is expatiated by the director of FOCAPS. Once more, take a listen.
We have been able to conclude on our working sessions, and now we have a clearer idea on how we want to develop the project. We now have orientation from the different participants, from state and non-state actors, and at this stage we feel more comfortable. The next stage now is to move to Abuja, where we'll be having a continent-wide meeting with CTA from the European Union. At that stage, they will be selecting a few countries to develop a mega climate finance project in the agricultural sector. So we do expect that at the end, Cameroon will be selected as one of the countries to be involved in the multi-country project. So I feel very confident, and I know that we have the capacity internally, but we need to work more on the strategic level to make sure that those other aspects that are not technical are taken into consideration. And this will be an important contribution to the national strategy, national policy to fight climate change, especially under the nationally determined contribution. And as you must know, the government of Cameroon has pledged under the Paris Climate Agreement to fight climate change. And they have this national document they call Nationally Determined Contribution. And there it clearly outlines what Cameroon needs to do in the different sectors to fight climate change. But so far so good. I think many initiatives are already going on, and this is just one among them.
And nursery school teachers are faced with diverse problems ranging from low salaries, poor working conditions, and equally maltreatment from some proprietors. It is for this reason that the Inspector of Basic Education for the Douala 4 subdivision organized a come-together for nursery school teachers for a tete-a-tete exchange on some of their challenges. Details with Immaculate Fogui.
School is a place par excellence where knowledge and skills are imparted to the rising generation. But those who are in charge of transmitting knowledge are working in deplorable conditions, which sometimes has a negative outcome on those acquiring knowledge. A case in point is that of nursery school teachers who decry some of their plights.
The difficulties that teachers of nurseries are going through is beyond description. Truly, honestly speaking, there's nobody who can pay those teachers of nursery. You can imagine a child of 3 years who beginning school, and where they are the people taking care of the children. Most of the parents even abuse them. Some of them insult them. My child has done this, my child has done that. Whereas a parent cannot take care of 5 children in the house, but a teacher of nursery is taking care of 80 as an individual. How can?
Normally we have some challenges as nursery teachers, such as didactic materials to supply to ease our work, And even we have lack of motivation by some of the proprietors and proprietor of the lay private schools that we have in Cameroon, and also
of the difficulties that we face in Nigeria school in my school is the late payment of school fees, which at times can result to the late payment of the teachers. So when parents at this time in May, by the end of this month, many schools will be going on holidays, and some parents are still owing school fees. So that can cause the proprietor not to pay the teachers on time. So that's one of the things that we face in the Nigeria school.
Due to the diverse challenges, the Inspector of Basic Education in the Douala 4 subdivision organized the first ever edition of Nursery School Teachers Come Together under the theme Living Together for a Brighter Future. Nursery school teachers from the Douala 3, 4 and 5 subdivision had the opportunity to have a tete-a-tete talk on some of their daily challenges.
It is not an event as another. It is the synthesis. We present the synthesis of all the activities of nursery schools. It is related to pedagogy.
What can I say? That we are so happy to take part of this ceremony. It's a wonderful moment where we see our children and our teacher well performing. We are so happy. I will just say congratulations to all of them.
It was equally an opportunity for extracurricular activities to be carried out by some of these teachers and their pupils. As the 2018-2019 academic year draws to an end, these nursery school teachers are hoping that the government will provide solutions to their plights before the start of the next academic year.
In news out of Cameroon, Malawi's Electoral Commission Chief, Dr. Jane Ansah, has called upon stakeholders, including political parties, to refrain from announcing premature results, pledging that the Commission will start official declaration of results as soon as 20% of vote cast have been tallied. Citizens went to the polls on Tuesday, casting their votes to elect a president, members of parliament, and local government councillors. President Peter Mutharika is seeking a second term and is being challenged by his deputy, Saulos Chilima, and the leader of the country's biggest opposition party, Lazarus Chakwera. In the article, we provide updates from the time polls open on Tuesday morning to the time official results will be announced, which Ansah sets will be within 8 days. Malawi's Electoral Commission, MEC, has told the media that the presidential election is too close to call, and for that reason, results cannot be updated until 147 complaints received by the Commission have been resolved. The Commission says complaints had been received by all political parties, and they had been briefed on how the Commission is resolving them. And that's it for this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television. Thanks so much for watching. Do have a splendid weekend.